Welcome to another edition of the TSS podcast, brought to you in association with Luke 1977 and Bowden and Dolphin, with your hosts Rob Carlos from Bob's Books and the legend that is Shaun Teal. He's here, there, and everywhere, and he's Tealey saying something.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the TSS podcast. You all know what it's abbreviated for. It is the Tealey saying something. Shaun Teal, legendary footballer of the 80s and 90s, played for Aston Villa, Bournemouth, so many clubs. He had more clubs than Jack Nicklaus at one stage, but he played for Aston Villa and he loves us for it, and we love him as well. So this is our 14th and final show of the 2024-2025 season. Tealey, what do you think about that?
Well, I can hear the applause from around the country going, thank God for that.
Do you know what? And you wanted to carry on and do the summer international clubs thing.
I asked the question, are we going to go on through the summer or are we going to take a little break, a little well-earned break?
He wanted to cover that club's competition. He did, didn't he? So he was starting on Tealey straight away.
Yeah. It's actually so I can bugger off back to Spain again. That's what it is.
Of course, and you're paying for that privilege, aren't you?
No.
Oh my God! Well, he's already doing freebies, and we're only 3 minutes into the show. Can't believe it.
I pay for my flights, obviously.
You sure you don't want us to chip in?
And we said, well, you can if you wish, and we pay our way while we're there, obviously. But we don't pay for silly apartments and hotel prices.
Don't blame you. Right, it's been a few weeks since we did our last one. I had a rather nasty chest infection, which put me out for a couple of weeks, so we weren't able to do one pre the end of the season. Thanks for the doing the world's smallest violin there for me, Tealey. I really appreciate it. I love you too. So let's just have a quick round of what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. Tealey, you've been back in Spain.
Mm-hmm. I have, yes. And now I'm back at work.
Oh, you are?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
See, just can't stop. Man's a machine. But we knew that already. And what about you, Chrissy Brown, our producer? What have you been up to?
I've just had a holiday, so I can get a bit of a base tan ready for my holiday. And apart from that, nothing much.
Apart from winning the league.
Oh, yeah.
30
minor thing.
Listen, that's an old story now. We don't need to go back over that.
Yeah, it gives us a studio, so, we've got to, they finished 30 points above everybody else. And 30 million pounds more spent.
Did I say it was a world record?
Oh, shut up.
Okay, so no, we'll go about that.
You might be 30 points behind the rest next year.
Let's
Probably,
hope.
yeah.
Let's hope. No, we can't say that, Tealey. We use the studio, remember that?
You know you love
it.
Yeah, we do.
Now, we hope they have a great season and finish bottom.
And so say all of us. Right, I've got something to tell you. Right, so you know that our man Tealey is always going on about my driving, saying I miss Daisy. Yeah?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, Dave Wickes knows about this already before I introduce him. I was on a speed awareness course.
God.
Was that the one where you get done for going too slow?
I was in Croydon, believe it or not, back in January, right by Crystal Palace's ground, and I was 3-4 miles above the speed limit, which wasn't 10 mile an hour, Tealey, before you say it. So I, Rob Carlos, have been on a speed awareness course.
Was that in a 20 zone or a 30 zone?
It was at a 10.
No.
I'm moving to Wales because it's only 20 there. I'll be all right in there. Yeah, so when I told our guest of today that what I was doing, he said, have you told Tealey yet? And I went, no, I haven't told him. I'll wait until we do the actual podcast and get his reaction. And your reaction was exactly what I thought it would be. And I've got to say, it's the second time I've done one of them as well.
Oh, well, you're doing all right. I've only done 4.
What, this week?
Yeah. You can only do them once every 3 years. So there's the last 12 years of my life gone. Shouldn't
it name in Concord? Absolutely.
Oh, honestly. I seem to cameras seem to follow me around. I don't know why.
Yeah, like I said, it's in London.
Got that face, haven't you?
It's got that face. Right, moving swiftly on. Right, so, before we get into the football, it's our last show of this season.
Yep.
It's been brilliant so far. We've done really well. We've had some great guests on, some really good names, whether it be a footballer, a manager, a journalist, an author. We've had a wide range of people. So I'm pleased to say that for our very last show of this season, we're going to have a good friend of mine and Tealey's on. As a Villa supporter for 40, 50 years now, vast majority of them have been spent getting a call from my mate at 12 o'clock in the afternoon saying, what time should I pick you up for a 3 o'clock kickoff? And I've gone, pick us up at 1:45. And it's dead simple because I'm a local person to Villa Park. But what about those faraway fans, the ones that are absolute miles away? I always thought that the local fan was probably a little bit more important than the faraway fan. I don't know why I thought that. Then I moved away and I moved near Cornwall and the Hampshire Lions as well. And I'm pleased to say that my misconception was exactly that. These fans are hardcore all the way through and travel for miles. So I'm pleased to say that we've got the chairman of the Cornwall Lions Supporters Club. Myself and Tealey have been down there, and I've hosted a few events, and will do for the remainder of this year. But welcome, Dave Wickes, to the TSS podcast.
Thank you, gents, and Chris.
Good start, Dave. Good start.
So, Dave, he's a Blues fan. We can't be too nice, Tealey.
I'm going to send you a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So we'll have that straight away. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you for having me.
We'll talk more about what you do as chairman and what you've been involved in with the Cornwall Lions Supporters Clubs. Like I say, since I've moved away, I've been involved in a few of these supporters clubs, and they are really, really good, fans of the club. Hampshire, we've had the Berkshire one, Oxford, all that kind of stuff. So it's been really, really good. But we'll go on to, that in a bit more detail as we move along. Just before we go into a preview of the season, just want to say, all the best to all the Liverpool fans that were, involved in that horrendous crush yesterday. I think our thoughts are with them. Luckily, there's been no fatalities on this one. We don't know exactly what happened just yet, but yeah, there was a few kids involved. So I'm sure you're all, joining with me to say that we're all thinking about the Liverpool supporters that were there yesterday.
Yeah, sure. Cause nobody deserves that. They've gone into Liverpool to celebrate, and 27 of them have ended up in hospital, and 4 of them are children. So it's never pleasant to read about things like that.
No,
we don't know the fine details. The only thing, because I live in the area, the only thing I know is that it's a 53-year-old white male from Liverpool, and that's all we seem to have been told.
Yeah, exactly. So thoughts with the families at this moment in time. Right, let's do a preview, I should say, of the 2024-25 season. But before we do, let's talk about that last game of the season. We've got to catch up on quite a few things that have happened. Aston Villa didn't quite get the Champions League place that we wanted. No need for you to laugh there, Brownie, on that one. Yeah, exactly. Right, let's start off with that incident that happened with 17 minutes to go. Complete and utter travesty. We've got to move on from it, right? And we've got to lick our wounds and all that kind of stuff. It didn't happen, but what on earth are the PGMO? What is it? PGMO? Yeah. Right. What are they doing giving, such a fated game to a referee that hasn't got that much experience? Surely it would have been better for him to be given, a game where, both teams were on the beach there. Tealey, thoughts on that one, mate?
Well, I think Naomi summed it up quite rightly. Out of 10 referees that worked on Sunday, he was the second least experienced referee. He'd only done 10 previous Premier League games or something like that. And yet there was Michael Oliver was sat doing VAR at another game. How it's just doesn't bear thinking about. It's ridiculous.
So Michael Oliver, he's not retired. He was just part of the VAR team.
Not at Old Trafford, a different game. So when they set this up, why didn't they look at putting all the most experienced referees in charge of the high-profile games? Your Newcastle, Everton. Newcastle needed a result, obviously. Us at United, City at Fulham, and of course the other big one was Forest and Chelsea. So your 4 top referees, I'm saying, should really be in charge of those games. And the lad that did the game at Old Trafford could have done anybody else. It didn't really make any difference, because whatever he did and whatever happened, any mistakes were not going to have a bearing on positions in the league. And it might sound sour grapes, but it's not just about the position in the league. It's the 100 million lost by that one decision, really. Or, as far as could have been lost. And we already know that PSR's tight at the club, so, we were going to have to cut our cloth appropriately, and it just makes the whole thing an awful lot harder to do. And no doubt it'll mean at least 1, if not 2, first team squad players leaving.
Yeah. What? Okay, so is it as simple as saying then, from your side, Tealey, that the association needs to, for next season, when we come to the last game of the season where things need to be tied up, we can't have the inexperienced people? Is that the answer? The only answer that we've got? Because it was a mistake, wasn't it?
The biggest problem about the whole thing, the decision and everything, is we get told constantly by PGMOL and from VAR that linesmen don't put their flags up till the end of the phase of play, right? So surely that has to apply to a referee. So the phase of play isn't the foul on the keeper, if there is one, which we all know there wasn't one. It's when the ball goes in the back of the net and the phase is finished. Then you go to VAR, then VAR look at it and VAR go, goal. End of. It wasn't even an argument. I mean, the amount of former referees that have been on social media saying it was a joke, the former players, on Sky and on other channels saying it was ridiculous, just goes to show it's not something that we've made up. It's just, it happened and the referee made a massive mistake. But it can't be righted. There's no, Unai Emery said, we can get all the apologies we like, but nothing's going to change because they can't change anything. It's too late. But it's also very unfair.
Yeah. Mr. Wickes, I saw some of the comments that you put on our WhatsApp group after the game and all that type of thing. What's your view on it?
Something's got to change. I don't know whether we can entice former players to referee. I'm not sure if people like Tealey and stuff would want to referee. Why would people want to, with all the abuse that happens to referees and the social media against their kind of families and stuff? But this isn't getting any better, is it? No. There's constant mistakes, and some have gone in Villa's favour in the last couple of years. I get reminded of that by a couple of United fans over the last couple of days. So, we win some, we lose some. But this one is massive for Villa. This is huge. Like Tealey's just said, it's cost us potentially 100 million. We could lose some valuable players. That could have an impact on the club for next season, maybe even the season after. It's not right for the fans who have paid the money and travelled to go to the games. It's not fair on the club. But what's going to happen? What's going to change? I really don't know the answer.
I think, Tealey, you've hit the nail on the head with the way that, and you mentioned with the player being offside, where they wait for the conclusion of that particular play, and that And another reason why it's got to change is what happened to that Forest player a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this is it. What's right, what's wrong? Because if you're talking about phases of play, then the landsman didn't give a Langer offside. He crosses the ball, and one he ends up smashing into the post, rupturing his spleen, his whatever. He ruptured something badly anyway. But then we're saying on the other hand that it should go to the end of that phase of play, which would have credited us with the goal. So I'm a bit like Dave. I don't know how you sort this out. Do you go back to the old style referee, linesman put the flag up as soon as they think there's an offside, and then it's proved otherwise, or I don't know, do you just blow up and like the referee did on Sunday and give the free kick? We're between a rock and a hard place, really, because one makes it right one way and one makes it wrong the other way. So I don't really know how the referees and how the rulers change that view and make it so it's right both ways.
Yeah. Do you think that VAR should overrule a referee like they did in that, that goal that we legitimately scored? Do you think?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I think that's the only way you can do it. If the referee makes a decision, whether he blows the whistle or not is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life anyway. He's going to blow a whistle, isn't he? But then VAR should be able to look at it, whether the referee thinks he's right or not. VAR should be able to say, right, get to the screen. We think you've made a massive error. You need to put it right, and the goal should have stood. And I suppose the argument will come if it's proved not to be a foul and say Morgan Rogers misses. What happens then? You just carry on, or do you give a free kick to Villa, or what do you do then? Because you're sort of stuck in the middle of two scenarios. Because if he hadn't have scored, would anybody have made a fuss? Or would they just have accepted it was a foul?
Isn't it crazy when you think about it? And Dave, you're a Villa fan like I am, and Tealey, you are as well. Isn't it crazy that we are sitting here? 2 years ago, we were delighted to be in the Conference League when we beat Brighton. Now, 2 years later, we are disappointed that we have made the Europa League, which is a great competition and an important one to win. We've had one season in the Champions League, and it's hard to take, isn't it? It is hard to take. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's just proof of where the club's going.
Exactly.
6 years ago, we were coming out of the Championship, hanging on for dear life in the Premier League. Now we've just got to a quarter final of the Champions League, semi final of an FA Cup, and we've finished sixth in the Premier League. So, it's a building process. Rome wasn't built in a day, as you keep getting reminded day in, day out. But we've got to go again now. But it could, like Dave said, it could be really hindered by what we have to do player-wise. Because the other downside to it is, you're in Champions League, you attract different levels of player. Take Marcus Rashford, for instance. I don't know what's going on with Marcus, but I would certainly doubt on the wages he's on that we could afford to do it anyway now.
Well, he's almost said goodbye on Instagram this morning, Shaun.
Right. Well, there you go. Some of us have been at work, Dave.
Still calls it work.
Just to let you know, Tealey, that Kennedy's been shot, and we've had a man on the moon as well. All right, just so you know.
So but using Marcus Rashford as a view, Marcus Rashford had already said that he wouldn't go to anywhere where they weren't Champions League anyway. So, whether that swayed his decision or whether it was all going to be dead and buried anyway, which I basically think it was. But, that applies not just to Marcus Rashford. That applies to an awful lot of players who really want to be in Champions League year in, year out. And they will choose and pick their clubs looking at where that club's finished the season before.
What's your view on that, Dave?
I just want to go back to your previous point, having thought a little bit more about it. Tealey, when you played, only a couple of years ago, but the rules seemed a lot more simple. Now, you're going on Sky, we're watching Match of the Day on, I watched it yesterday because I couldn't bring myself to watch it Sunday night. They're having to justify every rule about 20 times. I don't think anyone can interpret the rules. At least when you played, we understood offside was offside. We understood if someone kicked the ball out of someone's hands, whether it was a goal or not.
Yeah,
it just seems a bit complicated.
I agree, Dave. I think back in the old days, in the 90s, when the referee gave a decision, whether it was right or wrong, people abided by that decision. And I think long term, VAR's muddied the waters in a sense, because now a decision is not a decision anymore till it's been run past VAR. Or if the referee now, as we know, blows his whistle, it's a decision whether we like it or not, and whether VAR like it or not. So, it's definitely muddied the waters. It was simple in our day. Linesman put his flag up, referee blew the whistle, he was offside. Whether he was or not was irrelevant. But isn't it funny how in my day there was a basic rule of if there's a gap between the attacker and the forward, the forward and the defender, he was deemed to be offside. If there was daylight in between. If there wasn't daylight, whether his foot was over, his ankle was over, his knee was over, his shoulder was over, it wasn't deemed as offside.
So you could argue there then, Shaun, that the way it is now is anti-football because we did have the advantage for the attacker.
Of course. Of course. And what they've done now is they've took that advantage away and really, with a microscope, they've changed the whole layout of the game. And you're not telling me the game is better for it because it's not. I hear all these pundits saying, yeah, but at the end of the day, we want the right decision. Well,
we're not getting them though, are we?
No, we're getting as many cock-ups now as just normal human error used to give us in the early 90s. When I was at Villa, you'd lose out to the odd decision, but as managers often said then, over a season it levels itself out. And I just, for me, if I had my choice, I'd go back to the old days.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, Chris. Obviously, I'd like to say that you'd have a balanced view of this, but I'm not sure whether you would really be the Blue Nose. What was your thoughts about, are we bleating or do we have a case? It's not going to be solved.
A case, yeah, no.
I mean, it's a strange one for Chris because they're not ruled by VAR anyway.
No.
So, Chris is still, it's like us playing in the 90s still, Chris watching Birmingham the second division, third division championship because there's no VAR. So it's just like a normal game of football. Referee makes a decision, everybody abides by it.
Is it not getting to the stage where VAR will be the referee?
Well, it's more or less that now, isn't it? Let's face it. You score a goal and every goal's definitely looked at, and every foul anywhere near the 18-yard box is definitely looked at. They're making decisions on sending players off now. So you may as well go the whole hog and say, right, well, we'll just have a ref run around the pitch like an idiot, getting a sweat on, but don't make any decisions because we're going to check them anyway. What's the point?
Dave come out with a good point just about, ex-players becoming referees. I'm not sure whether that would work. Maybe it would, I don't know. But I certainly think they should be in Stockley Park.
Well, I think this has been, they've spoke about this, certainly on TalkSport over the whole season. This has been a subject that kept cropping up. Why is there not former players, ex-professionals in Stockley Park or working with PGMOL to make things work better? Because obviously former players have got the experience. It's all right saying referees have got experience, but they've not got experience of situations on the pitch that players get involved in. Would it help? Listen, can it make it any worse? No. So from that point of view, I think, yes, there should always be a former player with a viewpoint in Stockley Park for each game.
The only thing I've thought was good about the way they've done stuff this year and I think they started to use it in the League Cup semi-finals, is the referee announcing what decision he's come out with. Do you know what I mean? I kind of like that when he announces to the stadium, what his decision is. And I think.
Do you think it helps though?
I think being in the ground, at least people know what's going on. Yeah. I think, when we're at Villa Park, we haven't got a clue what's going on unless something comes up on the screen, but they don't describe what's happened. No. They just give you the outcome. Just going back to your other point, Rob, about ex-players and my previous point, I presume the issue if ex-players are going to be at Stockley Park is going back to what I originally said. Do ex-players from kind of Tealey's era understand the rules? So would that actually make a difference? No, the new rules. The rules change every hour, don't they? Depending on which club's playing and which ground you're at. There's a complete bias there.
Teams didn't understand football. They learn the rules.
But
the game lost me when they stopped defenders kicking forwards.
Do you know what? I always thought back to it, that 75 game between Leeds and Derby, when Franny Lee and who was it? Franny Lee and
Hunter.
Norman Hunter.
Was it Norman Hunter? When they're having that that punch up, and Barry Davies is the commentator, and his voice isn't raised; it's kept normal. Oh look, they're punching each other. Have you ever seen that one, Dave? Leeds and Derby 75.
He's not as old as you.
I was born a few years after that, mate.
All right, you can still see it, mate. Don't go there. Don't go there. Right. So overall, if you had to give a grading for Villa's season, what would you give?
Out of what?
Wow, out of 10.
Double A, all the way to if you had to give a teacher's grading for it, what would you give?
B-. Could do better. Yeah.
Okay. B-. Dave, what about you?
I don't really have a grading as such. I think FA Cup semi-final was really disappointing. I think there was a really good opportunity to win that. That was probably one of the most disappointing days that I've been at Villa for years. To have competed and got as far as we've got in the Champions League quarterfinals, 2 amazing games in Paris, home and away. I've had the pleasure of being at both of those games. Very lucky. If you'd said at the start of the season, would we qualify in the top 8 of the Champions League group stage and get to the quarterfinals, I think you would have all snapped Villa's hands off for that one. I think the league is a tough one because we've had so many games. We had a lot of injuries at the start of the season. People kept talking about how many injuries certain clubs had. No one really mentioned Villa because Unai doesn't moan at all about injuries or suspensions or lack of signings or anything like that, really. And I think it's gone a bit under the radar in what we've achieved in the Champions League against all of the injuries that we had at the start of the season. So if you look at it that way, fairly successful, but we've just missed out, haven't we, with a couple of kind of mediocre results in games that we should have won. You look at Bournemouth last minute at home, you look at the Ipswich result, you look at the Palace 4-1 defeat away. You look at Man City injury time. There was plenty of opportunities for us to have got that point that we needed to not even be talking about the shocking refereeing at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
So, Emery did amazing, didn't he, from January to get where we got. The amount of points we got, the amount of wins we got, the performances we've had, we've probably exceeded expectation from Christmas with the January signings that I thought were superb. Probably a little bit disappointing in the league. I'm really disappointed in the FA Cup, but the Champions League was phenomenal.
So that you're leading me into a question that I wanted to ask the panel on this. So thanks for doing that, Dave. Right. So we haven't turned up when we've really, really, really needed to in the crucial games, and you can go back to the Olympiacos semi-final from the Conference League. That seeped into this season, the Crystal Palace, the PSG game at their place, not keeping our concentration on that one. Manchester United and Man City, right, being the games there. I think that is the biggest thing that we now need to concentrate on, and that is turn us into, into those decisive moments where we're on the front foot and not on the back foot.
Well, to be honest, Rob, a big part of that is we shipped so many goals in the first 5 minutes of games this season, especially during that period, October, November, where we couldn't keep a clean sheet to save our lives. We were shipping an early goal, and then we were always chasing the game. And invariably, you'll win so many of them points back, but you're always going to lose so many games if you're shipping. I mean, you only have to look at our goal difference. That tells you the whole tale of the whole season, really. It's not that we haven't scored goals, because we have, but we've conceded way, way too many goals. Way too many.
Yeah, is that what he needs to look at, Dave? As he now goes, we all know what Unai's like. He's just a complete workaholic, 24/7 and all that kind of stuff. He'll be looking at what he needs for next season. Right now, he won't be smarting on what's taken place 2 days ago. Is it the defence where we really need to look at?
I think he'll already know what he needs. I think the PSR rules are not helping. But that's the same for a lot of clubs, isn't it? Again, there's just, sorry to be sour grapes, it's the ruling has helped the so-called Big Six, top four, stay elite, stay to have the financial power that they do. A couple of those, like United and Spurs, haven't worked through poor management of the whole club, not just the managers on the pitch. That is hindering Unai from getting the squad that I think he wants and he needs. He's come out and said that. Does it excuse some of the poor mistakes from Martinez throughout the season and the defenders? No, it doesn't. That comes from coaching and being quality footballers. So yeah, personally, I think we need another right back. I don't think Ashley's good enough in the big games when it really matters against a really good, quick winger. I think he gets caught out too much with the ball over the top. Tealey will tell you more because he was a quality defender. And I think we're missing another centre back that puts his foot on the line really, and this stays concentrated for the whole 90 minutes.
Would you get rid of Pau Torres on that left side?
Tealey said previously, I think he said he would.
Yeah. It's all right having a footballing centre back, but if he can't defend, he can't defend.
Yeah.
I like him as a player. I think he's a terrific passer of the ball. But first and foremost, you're there to defend. You're there to stop the ball going in the back of the net. And you're not telling me, and people will gripe about this, you're not telling me that Tyrone doesn't do a better job than Pau Torres at stopping the ball going in the net.
And it's mad when you think about it, because for years, Mings was the scapegoat for us. On social media, he was... But I think he'll always be the scapegoat.
Yeah. I think he'll always be the scapegoat because he'll always make a mistake here or there. But then, you can't look at Ezri Konsa and say Ezri's been immaculate all season and hasn't made mistakes. He's made his fair few of ricks, but that's part and parcel of being a professional footballer. You do every now and again make a mistake, and it can cost you, and it has cost us, and it's cost us dearly this year. But going on out and out defending, then I can't for the life of me see why Pau Torres has got in the team before Tyrone Mings in this last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. For me, it doesn't make any sense. He plays against Newcastle, we win 4-1, and he has a very, very strong game, Tyrone Mings, and then he's not in the side again. He starts one game. Was it Bournemouth away? He starts one game and comes off. Gets dragged off after 60 minutes, and you think, why has he even took him off? What's the point? We were cruising. But, at the end of the day, we're not the managers, as I keep saying. Unai's the manager. He makes the decisions. He knows why he does it. He doesn't have to explain to anybody why he does it because, we're not privy to that information. He knows why he does it. He has a reason for doing everything he does.
Yeah. So we talk about the defence there, right? Have we seen the last of Martinez in goal? We had the 2 years at Villa Park against Spurs, and he's flown away on holiday. Apparently, he's in Barcelona, and that's where his agent is as well, and all that kind of stuff.
His new agent.
And yes, his new agent, yeah, which kind of like makes me think he will go, because his new agent's going to want a little bit of the old 10%, isn't he?
Oh, crumbs, yeah. Listen, if George Mendes thinks he can get Martinez a good move on good money to Barcelona, because I guess that's why he's gone to Barcelona, to speak to them, then George Mendes will make sure it happens, because that's what he does. Would I be disappointed? To a certain extent, yes, because I think he's been good for Villa over his 3-4 years. Has he made a lot of ricks this year? Cool, has he? He's made some horrendous mistakes this year that have cost us. I wouldn't be that worried if he went, personally. I think there's other keepers out there that we've got our eye on that, with the PSR rules as well, would get decent money for Emmy, and we'd bring a keeper in that's young, desperate to play in the Premier League, desperate to do well, and would suit our style of play.
Dave, what do you think?
I think it's not just his goalkeeping attributes, and it's his presence. He's commanding, he's dominating. Nothing phases him. Even all the abuse that he got from in Paris because of what he did in the World Cup against France for Argentina, he didn't care less. And I think that's massive in goalkeeping terms. But as Tealey and I've alluded to, he's made quite a few mistakes this season. People like Kelleher, Garcia, the Spanish guy, his name seems to crop up quite a lot on social media. There are really good, Dean Henderson, he's been brilliant for Palace this season. There are really good goalkeepers out there. Whether they've got the stature and the commanding status at the moment, I'm not sure, but time will tell. We've been there and lost quality players in the past, haven't we? And grown us a club. Why can't we do it again?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that Emery will look at is the way we play. So Martinez, to a point, fits into the way he wants to play, gets on the ball, okay with his feet. I wouldn't say he's terrific with his feet. I think he drops his centre backs in the mire so many times, especially when he's playing out to our left hand side with Pau Torres or Taro Mings. How many times do you see him mishit a pass and the defender ends up on our touchline trying to clear the ball because they've been put under pressure by a bad ball from Emmy? So it's not like he's infallible, and it's got to be a keeper. If he does go, it's got to be a keeper that's good with his feet. We know that because that's the way the game's going now. So, Kelleher, we've seen him do it for Liverpool numerous times. Decent with his feet, good shot stopper. Is he as good as Emmy on crosses? Who knows? I don't really know because I've not seen enough of him. The lad Garcia, by what everybody's saying, is a top keeper and he's had a fantastic season. But I don't know enough about it. So we only really go on what we see. And Henderson's very good, shot stopper, quite a big lad. But is he as good with his feet? Because Palace don't play that way. So, it's a case of trying to find the keeper that gives you the full package that Unai Emery wants, at the back because he always talks about Martinez as being the controller. So everything starts from Emmy. So the pace of the game starts from Emmy, which I happen to think sometimes is way, way too slow. And I think that drops us in the mire at times because we're so slow at deciding which way to go. And, with all due respect to keepers, they're not the best at throwing a curveball to an attacker, thinking they're going one way and they go the other way. They telegraph everything they do anyway. So, I just think there's other keepers out there that can take the shirt on and be as good, if not better than Emmy, eventually.
I agree with Dave to an extent on this one. He's such a big personality. Look at the way he took Ireland out. He knew what he was going to do. Yeah, he knew he was going to do it. I do like if he does go, and I wouldn't be surprised. I would like to see Kelleher come in personally, and maybe Garcia is the goalkeeper for us. But I definitely think we need a goalkeeper, right back, and a left-sided centre back as well. I think that those are key positions for us. Are we going to keep Asensio?
I think we need a centre forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll keep Asensio.
I do.
Yeah. They're talking 15 million, aren't they? And its wages aren't.
That's a bargain.
Aren't massive. And it's obvious from what he's put on social media over the last couple of days that he's really enjoyed playing at Villa Park in front of the Villa fans, and he's enjoyed everything about the club. So I think if it's a straight, do you want to sign for us or not? Then I think he'd say yes at this moment in time. My biggest worry, if I'm honest, would be up top, because I think we're flattered to deceive an awful lot this season. Morgan Rogers in the last 8 games has been dire. Let's face it, he's done very little in the last 8 games, apart from whinge, moan, fall over, cry about everything, but not created hardly anything in the last 8 games. And he looks shattered. Now, he looks like he's on his last legs. So you've got to ask the question, why do we keep playing him if he's on his last legs? Because you're a man down right from the kickoff. Ollie's not been the same. Ollie's had a very, very strange season. He's had his good spells where he's looked on fire. Did the John Duran thing get in his head? Did the Marcus Rashford thing get in his head? Has it affected his confidence? But he doesn't look the same player. So, I think there's a lot to Leon Bailey. I mean, surely Leon Bailey's going to leave. Surely there's no point in keeping Leon Bailey because he's just not given us enough over this season. And it's all right.
For the last couple of transfer windows.
Well, it's all right saying, he did. Oh, he's brilliant last year. And he was good last year. But you're only as good as your last game. So last year's irrelevant now. That's gone. That's completely gone out the window. What's he done this season? He's had a very, very, very poor season by his standard. Probably his best games have been the last couple of games when he's come on. He's looked quite bright and lively, and he's sort of give us something we haven't had. Big talk of JJ going. I wouldn't want to see JJ go, I don't think, because I think he's young, and I think. But
he's at the PSR one though. He's either PSR player.
And that's the problem. That's the problem we're always going to have. We're always going to have to get rid of, certain players. I mean, we've got a flux of players coming back in. Emi Buendia for one. Can you see Emi Buendia forcing his way into the side? I can't. And yet I think he's a terrific player, but I just don't think he suits what Unai Emery wants in his side. The 2 lads that came in from Juventus last season, they've done quite well out on loan. I just think they'll be sold off because it'll make sense money wise.
Yeah, and you know what? We're still attract. It might not be Champions League, especially what we did in January when we were able to get Champions League players. We're not going to get that for next season, but the Europa League is still a very good competition to win, and we beat, 2 years ago or even a year ago, or I don't know, getting into the Europa League would have been a real good return for us.
Our biggest problem, Rob, being in the Europa League is Crystal Palace will be in it as well.
Yeah.
But you can see how important he was, when you see the Tottenham scenes,
Yeah, exactly. And you do have that place. If we do win it, I just don't want us to finish 17th because that was crazy. A team finishing 17th, getting into the Champions League. But them's the rules. Them's the rules. Talking about Crystal Palace, for me, let's go a little bit more generic now, guys, before we move on to the Cornwall Lions. The best thing about football for me this year, and I'm talking generically speaking, has been the FA Cup. Right? I know we lost and we gave our worst performance in that semi-final. But from that third round, when we had 4 or 5 teams playing Premier League teams from either non-league or the lower leagues, all the way through, the Newcastle Blues game was a great one, Plymouth beating Liverpool, and then Palace winning the cup for the first time. It's been the story for football, overall for me. It's been a great tournament, even though it gave us Villa's worst ever performance in it. Tealey, what would you say would be your football highlight that wasn't Villa related?
That wasn't Villa related. I think I agree with the FA Cup thing. I think, seeing the likes of lowly Tamworth bringing Tottenham to their ground and giving a good account of themselves, and all them kind of games that, there's been a lot of them this season because the smaller teams have done a lot better this season. And funny enough, I don't think it's because the big teams played weakened sides, because in most of the games they didn't play that. The sides they played were strong teams. They weren't weakened teams. But yeah, I mean, Palace have got to be the story of the season. Not just the FA Cup, but when you consider they didn't win in the first 9 games, and they looked like a complete bag of proverbial. And then somehow, some way, Oliver Glasner clicks them into gear. And the first time we really saw it was the Carabao Cup, when they came to us and beat us in the Carabao Cup. And I know they didn't play a weakened team, but we did. We still should have had enough to have dealt with them, but we just couldn't. We've never dealt with Matata up front.
No.
Whoever's played has never dealt with him. And that's been a massive issue. He's a big physical specimen. He puts himself about. And for a big man, he's got an incredibly good touch. I suppose from Palace's point of view, looking ahead into next season, will Eze be there? Will Mateta be there? And will the other midfield lad be there?
Is it Sarr?
No, the lad that came from Blackburn.
I can't think of his name.
Can't think of his name.
Okay, Dave, what about you? What's been your highlight in football that wasn't Villa related?
Okay, not Villa related. Yeah, I would probably say the Palace run. I think the FA Cup seems to have got a bit of spark back. People seem to be interested again. So yeah, definitely the FA Cup for me. Seems to have been diluted for many years for different things, different TV timings. Our games on a Friday night and stuff is ludicrous. As a fan that travels the distance, we do from Cornwall. That doesn't help. But it seems to have got a lot of spark back. I watched the Tamworth Tottenham game. It was brilliant.
Continue.
I watched the Liverpool Argyle game. That's the most local professional club to me. So, yeah, FA Cup for me.
Yeah. What about you? Oh, don't go on about it. Oh,
No,
won the league, 111. We're great. We only spent £50 million more than the rest. No.
I don't have to say anything else. Then.
What would be yours? Because I know
non-Blues related. I'd probably reiterate stuff said about the FA Cup. I think.
Well, you've been saying all
it's got its mojo. It's got its mojo back. I really feel as though it has. But the Crystal Palace run. Yeah, the win at Wembley. I think the Newcastle win as well. I think that's
exactly.
That's got to have a shout.
Who's the manager of the year? A lot of people are saying it's Eddie Howe. Some are saying Glasner.
I would say Amorim for doing so well in the league for United. I think he's been brilliant. United's mission is to bring joy to millions, and he has.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he didn't bring joy to us on that last game of the season.
Well, forget that bit.
Yeah, we'll forget that one. There's only 37 games this season. Absolutely. I would personally give it to... I think I would go Eddie Howe. In fact, I know you don't like him, Tealey.
No, I didn't say I don't like Eddie Howe. I like Eddie. But I don't think they've done anything special this season. I don't think they've been anything special. I think they've ground out results when they needed them. But no, managers, no, not for me. I wouldn't. I'd tell you, I'm going to shock you. I'll tell you, I'd give manager season 2, Davy Moyes.
He's done. He has been so mistreated over the years.
Yeah. He's been battered from pillar to post, but from going from Everton to United, then going to West Ham, winning them a European trophy and getting pillared for it, to getting pushed out the door, to going back to Everton. And I have to say, I was one that went, "Oh, you're having a laugh. Why would they take him back?" But I tell you what, talk about get a team up and to play and to win games and to finish in a fantastic position. 13th they finished, didn't they? Unbelievable, considering they were in the depths of relegation when he came in. And he's made them entertaining again. Whereas with Sean Dyche, it was like, let's see if we can bore everyone to a 1-0 win or a 0-0.
Yeah.
He's actually put players on the park who, and let's face it, not all, if you look at Everton's squad, then they're not all world beaters. I mean, look at the Cartos up front. Beto, I mean, he is dire. He's got his second touch is a header. His third touch is a tackle normally. So you know, I'd have loved to have played against someone like him, big galoop who can't do anything. And I'll get pillared for this if the Everton fans are listening, because they know I don't like him anyway. So, but you know, your Branthwaite's, your Tarkovsky's, your goalkeeper, even the lads O'Brien that they brought in, and you know Alcaraz, they've done brilliant. They've done so well to get to the position they've been in, considering where they were, and with all the pressure of needing to be in the Premier League for the new stadium. I'm made up for them because I think they deserve to go into that new stadium as Premier League players.
Top 10 for me next year, Everton. Bit of a dark horse.
Yeah, depending again on
top 4 or top 6, but I can see them 7th, 8th, 9th.
And I suppose that depends. I mean, obviously, I think they've let 4 go back to the parent club straight away. Decore's left. Ashley Young's been released. They've cleared the decks quite a bit, so it'll be interesting to see who they bring in, and that'll be a big test for David Moyes to rebuild the team, because he's going to be 7 or 8, 9, maybe 10 even go, so he's going to have to rebuild. Interesting. Yeah. And on the flip of that, probably the other team that I would say have surprised people the most is Bournemouth.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got, I like Bournemouth a lot because of what we did with them a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That went really well.
I played for them, so I always have a look, and I've always got a soft spot for AFC Bournemouth. Yeah. And Areola's done really, really well, and he's got a team that's exciting to watch. You know, they press high up the pitch, they don't give you room to play, and anybody that went down there and won this year was a terrific result, whoever you were. Exactly. Because it's not an easy place to go.
And talking about playing down the south, Dave, you mentioned there that Plymouth is your local professional club.
Good, Ollie.
Exactly. Right, it's a good time to bring up the supporters club, and obviously we're talking about the Cornwall Lions. So, Dave, over to yourself. Tell us a little bit more about why you're a Villa fan, where you come from, and what you've done in Cornwall.
Well, it's a collective. It's not just about me, but yeah, I was born in the Midlands. Lived in Shropshire, lived in Tamworth. Moved down in 92, had the privilege of being Villa mascot in 94. Unfortunately, Tealey just left by that point. Cornwall.
Did you have the beard then?
Sorry?
95.
You could have actually sat on his knee at one stage.
Did I have a beard then at 10 years old? Not quite. Uncle and my dad wrote into Tealey's best mate, Big Ron.
Well, I was still there then. If you wrote to Big Ron, I was still there.
94. Just won the League Cup pre-season. Villa came down to Falmouth. Some top legends playing: Bosnich, Spinksy, Neil Cox, Dwight York, Dalian. Dino was injured. Kevin Richardson, and Graham Fenton. Unfortunately, the Irish boys were in the USA World Cup, so those guys, and Ron was not there. Just been a die-hard Villa fan, ever since. Watch a lot of games. Don't miss a game on TV. Travel up probably about 15 to 20 games a season. Travel 575-mile round trip. Leave all kinds of times of mornings and evenings and get back, the next day to travel to Villa, just because that's my passion, that's my love, and Villa's always been my club. So in regards to Cornwall Lions, so I was part of what was Exeter Lions through Mike and Steve, good friends of mine, recently rebranded to the Devon and Somerset Lions. So I was helping them for 4 or 5 years in their committee. I was in their club a good kind of 8-10 years, I suppose. During lockdown, just a couple of us got hold of Villa and some ex-players. Tealey was good enough to help us. We did some online Zooms just at the point where people were completely locked down, just trying to help people with mental health and just try and re-engage with Villa, have a bit of banter, I won't repeat some of Tealey's stories because you can't.
We're still trying to help Rob with his mental health, by the way.
We had Tails, we had Brian Little, we had Dennis Mortimer, we had Tony Morley, we had Shaun, we had Phil King, we had numerous Ian Taylor, we had numerous players that really got together to support me and the club, help people. We raised £800 for charity over a kind of 3 or 4 week period, and that was at the point where we were just about to be allowed to go back to the pub for a group of 6 people on a table where you could have a beer brought to you, and a couple of the guys in the pub were Villa fans from the Midlands. Dave James, who you know, Rob, particularly well, said to me, "Why are you doing this for Outer County? Why don't we do this for Cornwall?" And literally overnight, we kind of formed a group called the Cornwall Lions. I approached the Villa because they knew me from doing the charity stuff with the Legends, and because I'd been involved with Exeter for a number of years. They fast-tracked the club. Normally you have to wait about 6 to 9 months to get approval. You watched during that period to make sure that you're doing all the right things. You're tracking your finances. You've got enough backing through the committee. You've got 25 members, etc., etc. They literally within 2 or 3 days we got approval for those reasons, and Cornwall Lions was formed. We now have over 250 members. We run events. You know, yourself and Rich, who's done a previous podcast, are very good at coming down to support running the events. We've had some amazing nights, including Tealey. We've done 13 different Legends nights. And that's really because some people aren't as fortunate as me that can either afford or can travel to get to Villa Park, get to some of the away games. So, you know, people like Tealey and Brian Little and Dennis Mortimer and Phil King, Dean Saunders, Big Ron, Martin O'Neill, John Gregory, Sid, Alan Evans, Tony Morley, you've all been kind enough to get off your arse and come to Cornwall to give people a good night, bring Villa to Cornwall, which the Cornish people, I feel, deserve to have that chance, to have a Villa night in the county that's affordable. They get to meet their heroes, they get their photos, they get their shirts signed, they get to hear stories that you wouldn't hear in the media for obvious reasons. You're all very, very honest about your playing careers, how you got into football, how you got into the clubs, what's life like after as a footballer. I think that's really important because I know quite a few sportsmen, you know, in football and out of, you know, in different sports. Quite a few people struggle after football. What do people do after football? You know, what jobs do they do? How do they pay their mortgages, their rent? You know, how do they pay to keep their families going? It's just brilliant that we get that support. I feel very privileged and very honoured to host these guys for the people at Cornwall. We have a laugh, but also we raise money for charity. So for me, this is all about helping people. We've had some great sponsors. I know Luke Roper sponsors you guys, Luke and Simon. They're amazing at donating some prizes for us that we give out to auctions and raffles. Villa Foundation are absolutely superb supporting the events. They've come to an event themselves. They were blown away by what we do. We have a DJ, we have a laugh. Aston Brewing mats, previously Purity Ale and Castor have supported with different prizes. We just make the best of what we can to bring Villa to Cornwall to help people. We've raised just over 16,500 in 4 years by doing those events. And it's because of good people like yourselves, Rob and Tealey, for coming down and supporting it, you know?
They really are great nights. I've hosted a couple of your events with Tealey and Johnny Gregory. And we've got a couple more this year as well, Dave, haven't we? So do you want to give us a bit more information about who we've got for 2025?
Yeah, Saturday the 12th of July, I've got to get my liver intact for Mark Draper, Tommy Johnson and young Alan Wright. So we're hosting those 3 for 2 nights, Rob. So you need to get your drinking shoes on as well.
Well, that won't be difficult, will it?
That might take an hour and then he'll go home and prepare for the next day. And then Saturday, the 11th of October, we got the Andy Gray flying over from the Middle East. And he's supported by a local celebrity who lives about 10 minutes from me. And he has done for years. And I only met him just before Christmas, the one and only Bruce Rioch. So he took me and DJ out for dinner a couple of months ago. He met DJ at work at the dockyard. DJ just happened to spot that he was Bruce Rioch when he signed in. DJ just managed to collar him and explain a little bit about the Cornwall Lions. Next thing I know, we're going out for dinner with him and spoke to him about the Andy Gray night. And because obviously they played together for the Scotland national team, they were both, Bruce really wanted to come along to help us as the club meet the fans and also spend some time with Andy. So they're the 2 events for this year, Rob.
So how can people, I mean, obviously you've got your members there, but non-members can go as well for that. How do people obtain tickets? I mean, let's face it, how nice is it? You're down in Cornwall, we've got the summer. October generally isn't very cold at this time of the year. So you've got a beautiful place like Cornwall, a lovely setting. To go to. How can people buy tickets then, Dave, and where do they need to go for that?
So they can either get hold of me through an email address, Cornwall AVFC Lions @outlook.com, Facebook and Instagram and X and LinkedIn, or you can go on to the newly revamped website, cornwalllions.net.
Great stuff, Dave. You work really hard. The work that you and the guys do, it's very commendable, as it is with Nick at the Hampshire Lions as well, and a few of the others that we've worked for. But yours has grown exponentially over the last couple of years, and it's a little bit of a laugh, isn't it, Tealey? They're a good crowd.
Yeah, we certainly enjoyed our time down there. We were given, obviously the 4 of us were given the apartment to stay in, which was fantastic, right on the seafront. Short train ride through to Truro for the night, and then a packed house, and we had a real good laugh, and it was a really enjoyable few days. Yeah,
and that's thanks to the Light family that Brian and Becky and George and Isabel, great people. I'm looking forward to spending time with them again for the events that we've got for this year. We're really looking forward to that, Dave. And
that's the point, Rob. Everyone pulls together.
I do.
We're not for profit. The committee don't take a penny from the events or anything that we do for the Cornwall Lions. And good people like Chris at the Hotel Anna Capri and the Light family, Brian, George, Izzy and Rebecca, give up their accommodation for free. You give up your time, Rob, to come down. You don't charge us for hosting these events. And it's just a brilliant community that's Villa related just to support the good people of Cornwall.
I wouldn't change a thing about them, David. I always give you that support because, quite frankly, you guys deserve it.
Hey, Chris.
I can see you trying to come in there.
He's been dying.
I can see on his face. Go on, Sean. Go on.
There's Rob getting his freebie.
Oh, yeah. Never disappoints you.
And can I tell you something, Mr. Teal, right? That our friend Mr. Wickes does buy his beers.
Okay. I never said that.
Okay.
I never said that. I'm talking about your freebie at the Light family house. and you give me stick.
I'll tell you what, right? I think this is the 14th show, Chris, or the 15th, whichever one. 16th. Oh, it's our 16th show.
Isn't it?
For 15 of them, right? I've hit him, and you have, with him getting his freebies. I mean, let's face it, the only reason...
15th.
Oh, it's our 15th show. The only reason why Sean Teal started to play football, because he wanted to have a free kick. That's all he was. Yeah. So it's taken him 14 shows before he's taken the piss out of me.
Hey, listen, I had a free ride to Bournemouth with you, and it took him forever.
Not now he's changed his ways, Tealey's, with his speeding habits.
Yeah. I'd have started 8-11 and got there for 5 to 10.
Dave, that doesn't mean he'll go over 10 mile an hour, though, does it? He's been caught at 14 mile an hour. I'm worried.
Rob, Dave.
I think he was speeding on his Scalextrics, to be honest.
Well, we did 14 mile an hour all the way to Bournemouth from Oxford.
On that note, maybe I can't believe he's having me on the freebies. Chris, you're the... Oh, no, Chris has been there. He's had the freebies at the Bluesy show as well.
Only a couple.
So, in fact...
Yeah, but that's the only way to get fans in there, isn't it?
We've got a 13,000 waiting list there for, it's going up.
Absolutely.
It's still only a third as big as the Villa waiting list, so, jog on a bit, Chris.
Yeah, but as I suppose from Birmingham,
Let's have Brownie right.
We're all Brummies, we are.
For this season.
Not pretending Brummies.
Let's have...
Chris, sorry, is that a waiting list for the job centre, or...?
Right, moving to
Rob, sorry, can I just give a special mention, because Andy at the Oxford Lions is doing a great job trying to build his club.
He is, yeah, well done.
And I know you're in talks about doing a couple of events with him.
Yeah.
Steve and Mike do a great job at what was Exeter Lions, Devon and Somerset, and Nick at Hampshire. He's done an event. He's really built a really good club. So we've got a bit of a kind of southwest kind of bit of banter going on. We help each other in our clubs, and I just wanted to give those guys a particular mention. They're doing some great work. It's really difficult to get these clubs off the ground, particularly getting volunteers to help do this and ensure that we can get Villa fans to the game. So I just hope you don't mind. I just wanted to give a special mention to those legends.
No, that's not a problem, mate. That's not a problem. As I said, I know quite a few of them myself, and it's great working with them. Right, We're going to finish this season, right, just before the referee blows his final whistle for this one. Right, we're going to have a bit of a Tealey quiz, right? I was going to give 10 questions, but we're well over the hour for this one. This could be our biggest one of the season, actually. Right.
Why don't we do our team of the season?
I don't think we're going to have time to do it now, to be honest with you.
Oh, I've spent hours looking at... No, I haven't.
I know you haven't. I know you haven't. Right, question, right? And I'm going to give it to all three of you, and the closest one wins.
Go on.
February 1994, we played Tranmere Rovers in the second leg of the League Cup final, known as the Coca-Cola Cup in those days. Second goal to make it 3-3 on aggregate was scored by Shauns when he accidentally fell over and the ball hit his head and went into the back of the net.
Correct.
Great header, really, Shaun. I'm only joking.
Sounds about right.
Right. What minute did he score his goal? Right. What minute did he score his goal? I'll give you a clue. It's in the first 30, right? So I want you to give me a number. Chris, start with you.
12.
12. Dave.
25.
Tealey.
19.
The winner is, one out, is Dave Wickes.
Oh,
You scored in the 24th minute. The 19th minute was Dean Saunders.
Oh.
So there you
I actually thought Dino had scored earlier than that, but hey ho.
And actually, let's just do another quick one on this. Your first full debut as a professional footballer was for Bournemouth, and you won the game 1-0, right? And it was an away game. Who did you beat? Right?
Do you want me to go first?
No, don't want you to go first. You're going last. Right. Chris.
who? Say it again.
He made his debut for Bournemouth, his full debut for Bournemouth, in a 1-0 away victory. He got the Man of the Match award as well. Who was the team?
Can I go and get the book you wrote about Tealey? Because I've read it. I just can't remember.
Please, because most of your stuff was won before HD, wasn't it?
It was before I was born, I think.
Yeah. Luton.
Dave.
Swindon.
It was Birmingham City.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Did Tealey know that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. Right.
Tealey.
Big John Gale up front.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right, that brings us to the end of our last podcast of this season. We've had some great guests on there. Start with you, Dave Wickes, John Gregory, we've had Chris Scudder, Brian Little, Richard Siddleman, Kenny Ibbett and Samir Gaby as well. So we've had some really good guests that we've had for this show. We cannot finish without saying thank you to our sponsors, Bowden and Dolphin Signs. Great stuff off Jamie with the Quad Rocks band as well. And getting the record out on playlist as well, and of course Mr. Luke Roper at Luke77. Have a great summer. We'll be back to preview the 25-26 season around the start of August. I guess we'll know a little bit more when the fixture list come out. So Chris, have a great summer.
And yourself,
Tealey.
Yeah, and you have a good one.
And of course I'll be with Mr. Wickes during the summer as well.
Don't be drinking too much, you two.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll tell you all about it.
We'll let Draper do that for us, Sean.
Exactly.
There's only one way that's going to go, and that's messy.
Exactly. Big thanks to all our supporters, Rob Cook and the rest of the gang that listen in week in, week out for us. I think we're going to have this out in a couple of days' time. So
probably Friday, yeah.
On Friday, which will be the
29th.
Let's have a quick look.
30th.
The 30th.
Is that right?
The 30th.
Before we go, can I say a big thank you to Chris for using the studio and putting this together? And obviously a big thank you to Rob for his time and energy in this, because it has been fun.
It has, and of course, Tealey, all down to you as well. I cannot believe we're being nice to each other.
No.
Right at the end. No doubt I'll get
It'll
loads of
switch around for next
on our WhatsApp group during the summer.
I was going to say, wait till the WhatsApp starts in about an hour.
I've already started, sorry.
Absolutely.
I've already started.
Right, have a great one, folks.
All right then, cheers then, guys.
Take care, up the villa.
Thank you.
Up the villa.
Up the villa.